Greetings. As you can tell by my Funko Pops, I still haven't sold them. These are my biggest ones. So I think they're actually my highest priced out of box ones too.
Interesting.
Buddy Boy right here in the box is worth $60.
Whoa.
Yeah. These guys were a 2-pack and I think they're worth like $30 together.
Oh,
Which
nice.
I mean it's not, I mean that's only 15 each, but still.
Money's money. Money, 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 money.
Yeah. Cool. Well, today we are going to be talking about Bridgerton.
No, I wish though.
Bridgerton has too much of an adult rating for me.
I know. I know.
Maybe I'll
Anyway,
just maybe I'll just read the synopsis on Wikipedia.
yes. Okay. Here's the thing, guys. We're actually talking about Pride and Prejudice, and I am stoked. Caleb, how are you feeling?
I don't understand why we're talking about it. I don't understand why this warrants an entire episode.
Really?
Like, okay, I'm gonna shift from you to the audience here. I already said this to Paige, like maybe we should just do a Jane Austen episode. That makes more sense in my head because she has 900 books.
Hmm.
But we're singling in on one book, and I don't get why.
Because
I
it
don't.
is, you know what? There has been over 100 adaptations of Pride and Prejudice, not including unpublished works. This is published works, over 100 adaptations
What do you
of
mean not
just Pride and
including
Prejudice.
what unpublished works are there that you even know about?
Thousands of fan fiction. Thousands.
Okay, are you talking about like that doesn't count? Fan fiction doesn't count as like a production of Pride and Prejudice.
I'm not counting it. I'm just saying an adaptation. I mean, somebody took the story and made it their own in some particular way.
Give
I'm
me a
talking.
second. I'm still listening, but give me a second.
All right. All I'm saying though, 100 adaptations.
Okay. You see this Harry Potter journal? I got this in 5th grade, I think. Scholastic Book Fair.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in them except for one of them. I drew some pictures as a kid.
Okay. What does this have to do with Pride and Prejudice?
Oh, you'll see. I can get Harry Potter to go for anything. I drew my own Order of the Phoenix thing.
Wow, nice.
Does this count as an unpublished work of Harry Potter?
No, I wouldn't say no, because technically it is published on a fan fiction website. You're not putting, well, I guess now technically you're putting it out there for the world to see, but
So now it's published.
I'm not saying like published, like self-published. I'm saying somebody along the time, like somewhere, either approved a book or approved a TV series or a movie of Pride and Prejudice. Over 100 of them.
Yeah, but I get that. But I'm more focused on these unpublished things.
Okay, we're not talking about fan fiction today. We're talking about practice. We're not talking about practice.
No, I'm just saying, like, why are we even giving any thought to what is considered unpublished? That's what I'm saying. Why did you even mention that?
I'm just saying because there are okay, so like yes, Harry Potter does have a ton of fan fictions. Because I didn't want you to like be like, oh, is it fan fictions? I was like trying to get ahead of the game. Turns out it was traps everywhere.
Yeah. Have you seen Ahsoka? You know, when the whales come out of hyperspace into the new galaxy and there's literal mines everywhere?
Yeah, that's your
That
mind.
that's up here.
Literal mind.
Yeah, I could beat Thrawn.
All right, back to Pride and Prejudice. I freaking love it. And here's the thing. I think that we needed a whole episode on Pride and Prejudice because there's so many underlying themes. And you watched the 2005 version, right?
Yes. Although, is the 1995 version the 6-hour one?
Yes.
I did just find out that Colin Firth plays Mr. Darcy in that one, so now I kind of want to watch it.
I think okay, here's the thing, right? Everyone there's a pretty good divide, I would say. Pretty much split 50-50 of whether or not people like the series more or the movie more. And I'm gonna just end it right here. Yeah.
When you say split 50-50, are you talking about the people who like it? Because I would say it's probably split 50-50 on people who like it or don't like it, and then you can divide from there.
I don't know. I would pretty much say if you don't like the movie, you'd probably like the TV series.
Wait, is the 6 hour one's a TV series?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I thought it was just one movie with like a break like Titanic.
It's like a BBC series. So BBC, I think, just did like multiple episodes that were like longer, right?
Okay, like Sherlock.
Yeah, like Sherlock. So anyway, I'm just gonna put the debate to bed. There's a lot of differences between the movie and the TV series, and they purposely made the movie different than the 1995 series. They purposely diverted away from the book a little bit to make it more modern.
They
So,
diverted from the book.
well, no, like the order still happens, right? It's sort of like Goblet of Fire, since we're talking about Harry Potter again.
Everything equates to Harry Potter. I'm telling you.
I'm just saying,
And
if
it's
I'm trying
because
to
J.K.
relate,
Rowling just took little elements of every other popular work and combined it into one.
yeah. Also, just to get it to relate to your likes, you know how like they completely skipped I think her name is like Winky in book 4.
Ugh, yes.
See, that's the reaction that the Pride and Prejudice people have because they're like, hey, they missed like a few neighbors that added to the gossip. And the thing is, when they made the 2005 series, they wanted it to be solely about Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy. Like
Okay.
they didn't care about obviously like they needed the supporting characters, but in their mind they were like, that's not what our episode is or our film is about. It's about Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy, whereas the series is about the book. So is it really? It's like potatoes and tomatoes. You can't really go
They
against each
sound
other.
similar, but yeah. I will be real, and you might have seen my reaction here, but as soon as you said that the movie didn't follow the book, I was immediately pissed about that. I don't even have to read the book to be bothered by that.
I mean, anyone probably would, but I feel like this is the most well summarized version of it for somebody who's never seen it to understand what's going on.
So we skipped our little "what is Pride and Prejudice" thing.
Oh yeah,
should,
let me
should
go back.
should we? You want to do that?
I mean, I would love actually if you would explain it and then I'll clear up any misconceptions.
Well, okay. It's about this family of wealthy poor people, and I say that because they've got like a pretty big house with like servants and crap. Where the mom is addicted to trying to marry off her 5 or 9 daughters. I don't know how many she has.
5. Not.
They're all girls. She wants to marry them all off so that because when the dad dies, and apparently he's really old and about to die, when the dad dies, the estate doesn't transfer to the women. It transfers to some distant cousin who, by the way, tries to marry them all. Freaking weirdo. Um, I did write a question about that down.
Okay.
Long story short, there's this rich dude who buys this place in town, Mr. Bingley. Um, I'm just gonna speed up. He marries the oldest daughter, Jane. There's drama there. Then the next daughter, Elizabeth, who the movie is about, and I think is everyone's favorite. She marries Mr. Bingley's best friend, Mr. Darcy, who makes twice as much money as Mr. Bingley,
Mhm.
and his aunt is a snatch. And then the youngest daughter, Lydia, marries a very poor militiaman who was supposed to be like a brother to Mr. Darcy, but there was a falling out. And that's the end.
But that was actually really good. Yeah. I would say honestly, to make it even shorter, it's a love story.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, we could follow our format, but if you just want
Saying
to
it's a
add,
love story is like saying Harry Potter is just a magic book.
that's true. That is true. Thank you for reining me in there. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I would say it also goes into like feminism and patriarchy and class tiers and what is a woman good for, all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we could follow our format, but if you just want to ask your questions, I'm okay doing that too.
Okay, yeah, I just wrote them down. Because like here's the thing, you told me to like call you and ask you if I had any questions while I was watching it.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to do that because like I mean we have this.
Yeah.
Why would we talk about it outside of this? Okay, I'm just gonna start from the top.
Okay.
So the first thing that confused me was, isn't Mr. Collins their cousin?
Yes.
Because that freaked me out at first. I was like not only is he hitting on Jane, but mom is trying to sell off the girls to him.
Yes. He is a cousin. It wasn't considered bad. Jane Austen actually has a whole book. I want to say it's Netherfield, where the main character is in love with her cousin.
Weird.
Yeah. I mean, it was a time period. That's the way it worked. Men were in
Yeah,
charge, so you did what you had to do.
we were talking about that. The 1800s seemed kind of sucky. Like there was the time when Elizabeth was just spinning on the swing.
Actually, I really like that scene. You know why?
Because like you have to take a motion sickness pill beforehand. I don't even get motion sick, and I was about to throw up.
No, I really like that scene because it reminds me a lot of the Twilight scene in New Moon when like they pan around Bella and it goes like over the course of a few months to show that time has passed.
Can't relate.
That's okay, the audience will. Let me know if you
Okay.
got that.
Like and subscribe and comment about Twilight.
Actually that scene wasn't supposed to be in there. The director added that last minute. It was actually supposed to be a filler scene showing that when Mr. Wickham left, that there were multiple women that was sad that he was leaving, not just Elizabeth and Lydia.
Hmm.
It was going to be like
What a
multiple women
player.
being like, yeah, showing like his true intentions a little bit.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah.
On the Mr. Collins thing,
Mm-hmm.
did Mary have a thing for him?
Oh, 100%. Also, did you know the actress who plays Mary is married was married to Elon Musk.
Oh, she was?
Yeah.
That's weird. She's not Grimes, is she? I don't know what Grimes looks like.
No, she's not Grimes.
Okay, I was like, she looks very plain to be someone named Grimes.
No, I think she's like I don't remember her actual name, but Mary totally had a thing for Mr. Collins. And to be honest, I think if Mary wasn't as somber as she is, I think he would have seen her as an option. But she's sort of just described as like invisible.
Hmm.
Like, and
Yeah, I
so
could see that. They
yeah,
portrayed that pretty well in the movie.
yeah, yeah. I really like the scene where she's like playing and the dad comes over and he's like, let somebody else go.
um, what else was I gonna say? Also in the same Mr. Collins vein,
Hmm.
Mrs. Collins. I had no idea she was the TikTok sound.
Oh, I'm 27 years old. I have no
Yeah,
money and no prospects.
I'm already a burden to my parents.
Yeah,
I
that's where
had
it
no
came
idea
from.
that was even from this.
Do you know who wrote that line? Speaking of Harry Potter, Emma Thompson.
Oh, she wrote just that line specifically.
Well, she wrote that line, but she wrote other lines too. And
That
uh,
wasn't Emma Thompson.
no, it wasn't Emma Thompson, but she was an advisor on it.
Oh,
Yeah,
good for her.
yeah, yeah. It's a really good line.
We could have an Emma Thompson episode, honestly. She's very
Yeah,
versatile.
yeah. We could have an Emma Thompson episode. Any actor or actress who ever played in Harry Potter that's an adult, I think, has a phenomenal career that we could talk about.
That's true. Who's the best one though?
Helena Bonham Carter.
Over Maggie Smith? Excuse
Oh,
you.
oh, I'm so sorry.
Excuse
I'm
you.
so sorry. I forgot.
Okay, back to Pride and Prejudice. Oh, this is a very good question and should have been my first question.
Okay.
Is Bingley's sister a good guy or a bad guy?
Bad guy. Do you want to know something actually really funny? This is more for you than for the audience, but um there's this show called Austenland. Is
Yeah,
it
I've seen it.
Austenland?
I've seen it. Yes.
I wonder if this is the one where Caroline Bingley is actually a lesbian and tries to get with like she thinks that Elizabeth likes her, and then Elizabeth is like, "What? No, I don't." And like, what movie is
That
that?
doesn't sound like Austin Land.
That doesn't sound like Austen Land, but it is one, and it's really funny. That's a really funny scene. But no, she's more of a villain.
Okay. Well,
And
I was just
actually,
wondering because like she seems like a villain, but like then when she's like walking around the room with Elizabeth, it almost seems like she's like trying to help her like woo Mr. Darcy.
she's actually trying to woo Mr. Darcy. She wants to be with Mr. Darcy.
Then why did she have Elizabeth walk around the room with her?
I think it was more of like a power play, right? Like, um, I mean, if I knew I had assets like hers, and obviously Elizabeth is supposed to be really plain, I think in her mind she was like, well, we should just go side by side, and he'll see the differences. And obviously, like, I'm the show pony. He's gonna want me,
Hmm.
you know.
But he's anti-redhead.
I mean, yes, in theory, I guess he is. But I think in her mind, like, she played the game, right? Like, so she wanted to be rich. She wanted to have that like title, and he was a title to her. He wasn't a person to her.
Wait, so was she? Oh, you're talking about the sister.
Hmm.
I thought you were talking about Elizabeth. I was like, I thought she like hated Darcy the whole time.
Well, ironically, also he was a title to her too, because like she didn't really see him as a person. She just automatically assumed that he was, you know, just a rich snob that didn't care about where he was or who they were. So in a lot of similarities, she had a very similar mindset of Carolyn Bingley. She just was more modest about it.
Hmm, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, my next question. What's with the hand thing after putting her in the carriage?
Oh yes, I freaking love this.
Why do you love that? Like, is he grossed out or is he bugged that he liked it?
Okay, one second. All right, Caleb, let's go back. Let's say you were sitting in the middle of like, I don't know, class or something, right? Um, or maybe you're in traffic, right? And you're just thinking, just in the deep depths of your mind, you're just thinking, and then you come across a memory
Yeah,
of
happened to me today.
just something that like embarrasses you.
Yeah, happened to me today.
What do you do?
Just go. Ugh.
Yeah, but you have like sort of like a physical reaction to it. It's sort of like I shake my head, I'll be like, ugh, gotta get that out of there. You
Yeah,
know? Um, it just shows like how deep he thinks about her, that he can't handle it from being like a physical reaction. He legitimately, like, he likes her so much that he's like thinking about it, and instead of like showing like his face, the director panned to his hand, which wasn't planned. It was just what he did, and they were like, oh, we like that, let's go ahead and like make that a thing. And yeah, I think every person has ever done that. Like, I remember like just being so giddy with happiness that like after like something big happened in our relationship, after I was like alone, I would like physically like do a dance or like a fist bump or like yes, or something like that, and it just shows how much he likes her.
yeah. But the thing that weirds me out is like his hand like opens more, which is what I feel like I would do if it's like ah.
I don't know, I guess it's just how you interpret it. Like, it's just so charged with like passion that he has to do something physical
Then why did they do his hand the other time when nothing happened when she left him?
because she left him. He's hurt.
Yeah, so why didn't anything happen with his hand?
Because I think that they were trying to show the hurt in it, and also I would say that he did have a physical reaction, because like when he when she's like basically says, you're the last man on earth I want to marry, but she says it in very good dialogue that I can't remember the exact words. He still comes towards her like he's gonna kiss her. Like, physically, he's showing that even though he's like hurt and he doesn't get what he wants, he still wants to be near her. And so he like comes in almost as if they're about to kiss. And he was like, I'm sorry I took so much of your time.
Okay, I guess there's just a lot of artistic takes that I just don't get. That's really what it comes down to on this is like I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you look like the guy from Star Trek, the Reading Rainbow guy.
My bangs keep falling in my eyes.
Um, yeah, like okay, I will say this. actually sitting down and watching it all the way through, the story does make sense, and it's not as stupid as I made it out to be in my head.
Okay, let me ask you this. Would you ever watch it again?
Like it would have to be like very specific circumstances to watch it again.
Well, okay, let me be more specific. When you were like listening to it and watching it, did you feel like you ever got like left behind in it at all? Did you ever feel like they were talking too fast?
No.
Um, did you like the dialogue? Did you like the words that they were using and all of that?
Yeah, like I feel like Elizabeth was very witty. She
Mm-hmm.
she had some good burns. Mr. Bennet is the best character, hands down.
Yeah.
Um, and like I get the story, but it's like I feel like there's other chick flicks that I would rather watch.
I would say this one just seems so witty. Like it doesn't feel dumb like other love stories, if that makes sense. Like it feels more, as funny as it sounds, because we're not even in that time period, it feels more real.
That's
Like,
true.
like I could, you're right. I would love to watch like all these like cheesy romances, like 17 Again, all of these like other chick flicks, or even The Notebook or any Nicholas Sparks movie. Like they're good, but ultimately they're unrealistic, you know?
I don't know. You could always find yourself in a situation where you wake up and you're 17 again.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so well received. And also it just sort of shows like it captures, I mean, I asked you a little bit last night, so I feel a little bit bad that they're not getting like the first like view of this. But I was telling you that I think it captures a single woman's view on romance very well.
Oh yeah, because what's her butt? Jane Austen.
Hmm.
She wasn't married, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is her writing about that. Yes.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason why it does too is like, I mean, when you're younger and you're happy go lucky, like you think of getting to the marriage, but you don't, or like the wedding, but you don't think about the actual marriage itself. And then that's where her books would end, would be the wedding.
Mm,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
What did you think of
Wow.
Wickham?
He's a butthead.
Yeah, he is a butthead.
I already knew he was a bad guy though because I knew the general storyline before I even watched it.
Oh, because of TikTok, right?
No, because
Oh.
you loved it so much that I like looked it up one day because I was like, what the frick is this story about?
Oh yeah.
I knew the Twilight story too. Like,
I am a chatter.
well, I'm more of just like if there's hype around it, I want to know why.
Yeah.
Like I've looked up the synopsis of Game of Thrones,
Hmm.
so I know how that ends, even though I've never seen a single episode.
Yeah.
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 I still have like 9 questions.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. I think I may have answered this one in my head already. What's the deal with Collins and Darcy's aunt? Can I
Oh.
guess? And then you can tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah, of course.
So as far as I can tell, his aunt is or Darcy's aunt. What's her name?
Duchess of Penborough. Uh,
Oh, okay, so Judy Dench. That's what I should say.
yeah, you just say Judi Dench.
Okay.
She's a
So
duchess.
okay, the Duchess. The Duchess is Collins' patron, which I think is because he's a preacher, so he needs someone wealthy to pay for his lifestyle while he's a preacher. Am I getting this right?
Yes, 100%.
So she gave him an estate to be the preacher in her area.
Yes. Because
Okay.
essentially, like if you think about the time period that they're in, they're still doing actual lordships. And so she's a duchess, and since her husband, the duke, is obviously passed on, and she has no living male heir other than Mr. Darcy, who it doesn't really go into it. He doesn't really want to take care of her estate. So she, she's in charge of it, and it would pass to her daughter because there's technically no living males. So anyway, she uh owns it like a village. That's how it was worked back then. So like the higher status of your lord or lady, the like better your village was. And
Hmm.
so like it was her responsibility to make sure the village was like set. And so she she bought Mr. Collins essentially.
Do you want to know how I figured it out?
How?
Like I wrote this down and I was thinking about it more, and I realized it's exactly like Name of the Wind.
Ooh.
Yeah, a little foreshadowing here.
Yeah, yeah, total
Yeah. So if
patronage.
I hadn't read Name of the Wind, I probably would have never got it.
I love he plays the character so well.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Yeah, I was telling Janessa, I was like, he's so good at acting awkward, or he's just really awkward in real life.
Yeah, but I read like a blog about this forever ago where some dude watched it for the first time. Oh, it was a Reddit post. And he was like, I don't know, I was avoiding it my whole life. He's like, I related to Mr. Collins so well. He's like, I felt like I had no social cues. I felt like I would go to parties and I'd talk to girls and they would just like walk away from me like they did to Mr. Collins. And he was like, I don't know why he gets such a bad rap. It's tough out there.
I didn't write this one down. Is he gay?
Mr. Collins?
Yeah, is it implied that he would be gay?
No. I mean, he's just very straight-laced, very boring. I honestly don't think that he would have been married. My guess is that he entered the religious portion of it to like be almost like a priest that is an unmarried priest.
A nun?
Yeah, but they also have like I'm not like monk. He wouldn't be a monk, but I would say he entered it into it, and then I think the Duchess required him to have a wife. And so he
Hmm.
was like, oh.
Well, I mean, yeah, that was the comment that he made that like it was something like he needed to set an example of holy matrimony for his
Yeah.
congregation.
Yeah. 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 I could see it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of got that vibe that maybe, but then again, I mean, it was written in the 1800s too, so why would she have alluded to that?
Yeah.
Hmm. Moving on. What's the deal with Darcy and Lydia's wedding? I didn't fully pick up on that. Like, did he just pay for the wedding, or did he actually give the money to Wickham and not the uncle?
He bribed Wickham.
So the uncle didn't give him the money?
No, the uncle actually didn't show up in time. It was solely Mr. Darcy. So they went to a city that I think it's called Gunthin or something like that. Gunthin, which is our
Gunther. Let's
last.
call it Gunther.
Okay, let's call it Gunther for friends. So essentially they went to Gunther. They were going to elope, and if they had eloped, the Bennets essentially would have been removed from society. Like they were so low on the totem pole that like they would have been removed from the society. No one from a respectable family would marry the daughters because they would think that they're all floozies like Lydia. And virtue was like the highest thing that you could buy back then, I guess, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Darcy essentially went to Gunther or Las Vegas because he knew based on his previous experience with Wickham and his sister. And so he went and essentially he paid him what was it, 26,000 a year? Or 26,000 with £100 a year. So like 26,000 would be like in the $100,000 range just to get married.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Wait, so
essentially
Darcy paid Wickham,
to marry Lydia.
and then he's continuing to pay 100.
Uh technically he not him. So like he agreed with Darcy to marry Lydia under the knowledge that Mr. Bennet would pay $100 a year.
Okay, because that was another one of my questions. Like, who's paying the $100? Because so when Darcy marries Elizabeth, is that another thing that like Mr. Bennet's going to be paying Darcy?
In theory, because it's a dowry, right? So they were still doing dowries back then.
Yeah, but the dowry is usually from the groom to the bride's parents. Because
Just
like
the way it worked.
they're losing help on the farm essentially. So you need to pay money for that.
I don't know. I think in British era it was the other way around. However, I'm pretty sure Mr. Darcy didn't want a dowry. Like because he's so rich that
But
he's
that's
like,
not a dowry. A dowry is going to the father of the bride.
that's the way it worked. I don't know where it switched, but that's the way it worked.
I should have looked this up because I feel like it's wrong.
I mean, we can always look it up on the break and come back to it.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, okay, I only have two more questions.
Okay.
What did Darcy do that Lizzie told Papa at the end?
That Darcy was so all Lydia knows in Lydia's mind, she thinks that the uncle found them and figured out their wedding. But it wasn't that case. She just knew that Mr. Darcy was there at the wedding, and the only reason Mr. Darcy was at the actual wedding was to make sure Mr. Wickham actually went through with it. And then he got his money. It was after the wedding.
Hmm.
So Lydia told Elizabeth that Mr. Darcy was at the wedding. And
Lizzie or Lydia told Lizzie that he paid for it. I did catch that.
yeah. And she just didn't want their dad to figure it out because the dad would have had to pay back Mr. Darcy. But since he thinks an uncle did it, it was a relative, so he wouldn't have to pay him back.
Okay, so is that the only thing that Lizzie told him, or did she also tell him about Bingley and how he brought Bingley back for Jane?
Oh, you're talking about the end conversation. I thought you were talking about Lydia.
No, I'm talking about Papa.
Oh, okay, okay. At the very, very end.
I even wrote Papa, P-A, capital P, capital A.
In the
So I'd
movie,
remember to say Papa.
in the movie, she does tell him about Wickham. In the book, she doesn't.
She just tells him about the wedding.
She just I don't there that's like a made up scene. It's not in the book. It's like
Hmm.
they just sort of accepted her opinion. However, he does like meet with her and talk about how she's his favorite. And he says something super cute, where he's like, I can't say that your husband will be my favorite. Wickham will have the place of being my favorite. Because Wickham is just a charismatic guy. But he does say that, like, Lizzie, you're always gonna be my favorite.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Are you ready for my last question?
Yes.
Why is there so much hype?
Why? Well, that's such a big question. Um, I think well, we've gone like over a few things. For one, it's like more realistic. It's witty, it's clever. There's so many twists and turns in it that you're like, who is she gonna end up with? Um, and I think it's just a comfort movie. Like you don't have to worry about your parents walking in on you. You don't have to like you don't have to worry about like scares or like it's just something that you can just sit down and like feel for one like refined and educated that you're watching it, you know?
Yeah. Okay. I think, okay. I'm just going to say this. It's in the same vein as Ever After, and I would rather watch Ever After.
I would say yeah, Ever After is phenomenal and I would love to watch Ever After. But I also know that like Ever After wouldn't have happened whereas like something like this could have happened.
Ever After could have happened.
Well, it's
The
like based on
story
a
of
fairy tale.
Cinderella had to come from somewhere.
I don't know. It's like, yeah, I would say they're in the same vein. They're a Regency era film. So like anything like that, even Bridgerton, Pride and Prejudice, all of Jane Austen's works, like there's like a whole bunch of them. And it's just like a fun period to be a part of. I think another thing is like it really just shows very well how much like it was like a modern version, I guess, as modern as you could say, because technically the Grimm brothers collected fairy tales technically after them, I'm pretty sure. After Pride and Prejudice is written, it almost seems like a Cinderella story, right? Going from like rags to riches. Um, and so I think that's like it's like the OG Cinderella story, but I don't know when the original Cinderella was released too.
I feel like the Brothers Grimm stories were from like the 1600s. No, I guess that's Renaissance.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
1700s. I feel like it's like pre 1800s though.
I do have a fun fact to tell you about Pride and Prejudice. Um, so Jane Austen was 21 when she wrote Pride and Prejudice, the same age as Elizabeth. And it was rejected by a publisher. And so Jane wrote other books, and her first book to really take off was Sense and Sensibility, who, by the way, Snape is in that movie with Emma Thompson and Hugh
Oh,
Grant and Kate Winslet, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, big names on that movie. But anyway, uh Sense and Sensibility came out as a book in the 1800s. So she wrote Pride and Prejudice in 19, I want to say like 1996. No, so sorry. 1796. Um
oh
and
wow,
then
she made it a long time.
mhm. But then it didn't get released for like 20 or 30 years later, until Sense and Sensibility took off. And so when she released it, it was sort of behind its time a little bit about like but people like still associated it to the actual Regency era. So like the Regency era is like 1810 to like 1830, which is where they wore like the tight clothing, the high backs, the very rigid clothes, very fancy, like attire, and that's what people like associate with this like era. But the film that you watched, the 2005, was based originally, like the costumes and everything was based on when she actually wrote it. Whereas like the BBC TV show wrote it to reflect when it was released as a book. So that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I like their clothes.
I do too. I think the costuming in this movie alone is like something super cool. Like Mr. Darcy, the first time you see him, he's in black in very tight clothing, very rigid, very stuck up. And by the end, he's very loose, very open, and it just
Yeah,
like
I
gets
actually
looser.
noticed that like they like showed us like chest hair and stuff. I was like, there is no way any man before the year 1930 would have walked around like that.
Or her in her 90. It was like, okay.
I mean, it was her property. I don't know.
No
I don't
way. She had
I
male
don't think
servants.
about I never think about like the girls' clothes ever, honestly. Like it never occurs. That stuff never occurs to me. But
Yeah,
like
well,
that thing, I was like, yeah, there's no way.
yeah. Well, like you see it even in the women's clothes. Sorry, my voice just sort of cracked like a 12-year-old boy. It's not um you see it in like the ribbon scene when Mr. Bingley comes to propose to Jane and they're all sort of dressed plain. They all don't really match. Like they have their own like color, they have their own themes. But when she's like, ribbons, ribbons, I need ribbons, and there's like just a ball, a ball of ribbons, and then she just like picks one at random. It just sort of shows like that they are used to taking regular day items and making their outfits better, more updated. And it shows like their wealth a little bit too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the costuming. This whole movie, just like, what did you think of the soundtrack?
Uh, I didn't think anything of it, so it didn't stick out to me. I mean, like, yeah, the piano was kind of cool at the beginning. That was the only time I really noticed it.
Yeah, that's like the most famous song. I really like the music in it.
I don't know. It's not like Interstellar
Oh yeah.
or Cool Runnings
I mean,
or Lion King.
wait, Cool Runnings music? I don't think I've ever like. Did you mean that sincerely?
Yeah, all three movies I just named are Hans Zimmer. So you're welcome.
Oh, I didn't know that. I do know that Hans Zimmer is banned from South Africa.
Because of the movie
Lion King.
Power of One.
Power of One. What is that?
Yeah.
I thought it
I
was
thought you
Lion King.
watched it with me. I had to read it for a college thing. And oh wait, no, it wasn't college. It was no, yeah, we had to read it in college, I thought. We watched it together at your
Did we?
apartment.
I think
Um,
with James Earl Jones.
I don't remember if he's in it. I feel like it was it Matt Damon? I don't know. It's about this like white kid in Africa.
God's Country?
Oh, we did watch God's Country together. But we also watched Power of One after that because I told you about it because it was like based on the same time period. It was about the boxer.
Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't know it
Yeah,
was for that
the
movie.
the, the white kid who was like raised in Africa and like he went to like an all African boys school and like they were all racist towards him because he was white. And then like he realized that society that they were like that towards him because society was like that towards them. So they were just kind of getting their revenge on him.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's like this boxer and he like helped them like navigate the whole racism thing in South Africa. And like I think South Africa, I mean, this is just stuff I read on like Wikipedia, so it's probably entirely wrong. But like the South African government like didn't like that Hans Zimmer was like helping push this story along because they don't like admitting that they have racist history. You know, no one likes admitting it.
No, no one does. Yeah.
And like uh yeah, I think he like broke some laws when he was like down there studying their music or something. So he's got like a warrant for his arrest in South Africa. So
Whoa.
so when it was like time for Lion King, he just sent some people down there to get some music samples for him.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know it
Power
was
of
for that
one.
movie. Yeah. The music I really like. Overall, I would say Pride and Prejudice is a movie that will continue to be readapted. And I think it's going to be one that just continues pretty much until like a new Pride and Prejudice comes out, I would say. Like when I say new, I
That's
mean like
interesting
a
that you're
different
like
story.
down that you're down for more of the same.
Oh, 100%. Like the story itself is a good story, and there's a lot that got left out. And like I think anytime somebody redoes a classic, it's sort of exciting to see how they emphasize it. You know, like, oh, I will say this. I want to do a Little Women episode, but we're probably gonna like lengthen it out a little bit because you were so kind to
That's Louisa May Alcott, not Jane Austen.
Okay, when Caleb was like, let's do a Jane Austen series, you know, or did she only write two, Pride and Prejudice and Little Women? And I like laughed and he got offended. He was like, oh, that's Louisa May Alcott. Anyway, that's why I have a copy of Little Women behind me.
That's why I have authors, is because Louisa May Alcott's the only female writer in it.
I definitely want to do a Little Women episode, but like I know that like I'm more knowledgeable in this, so we'll probably push it out a little bit because I think it's more fun when we both get fiery about it. But anyway, in Little Women, Greta Gerwig just redid it, and that one has like six or seven
With Hermione.
adaptations. Yes, with Hermione, and you're gonna love it.
Never seen it.
But I originally watched the 1997 version, and that one has Winona Ryder in it, and I hated the character Amy. I absolutely hated her. Wanted to kick her over a fence. You know, this little kid didn't even like her. Played by Kristen Chenoweth, ironically. Um, uh, anyway, Greta Gerwig's version, I love Amy. Amy's like my favorite character. So it's just it's sort of cool to see how like people have a different perspective on different characters and the interactions in between them.
I'm just like the opposite though. Like they're like planning the Harry Potter series,
Hmm.
and like I'm just like super skeptical. Like, yeah, I feel like the book has enough content to warrant a TV show over movies. But it's also like we already have the movies and like they just came out like 20 years ago. And I guess, yeah, that's a long time. We can restart technically. But like I also don't want them to do that with Lord of the Rings. I feel like our Lord of the Rings movie is like one and done. We don't need any more.
Yeah.
And it's not really one and done because there were a few cartoon adaptations before. There are some interesting ones where they like basically like filmed actors, kind of like the motion capture, you know,
Hmm.
and then they just like drew over it frame by frame.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they've got some like weird older Lord of the Rings ones that are like classic in their own right, but like the ones we got, like I feel like we don't need them to do it again, you know?
Well, to
So
be
it's just interesting that you're like, oh, I hope they redo this. It would be so cool. I'm just
well,
like, give me my stuff and leave it alone.
well, let me put it this way. When they come out with the Harry Potter series, are you gonna watch it?
Uh, well, I think it's gonna come out on Max, so
Hypothetically
probably
speaking, if
not.
it was free, would you just watch it?
Yeah, if it was free, I'd watch it.
Okay, so that's the thing. Like, I'm gonna go into any future Pride and Prejudice film with the preconceived notions that I've seen so many versions of it that I'm gonna be like judging it hard. But what else does it have to offer me? You know, like I feel like there's like a few works throughout history where you can just go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and it just like gets richer, you know? I think Pride and Prejudice is one of those, especially for me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one out there. But like Lord of the Rings for you or like Harry Potter for you, you know?
They're sacred.
I think it's just a great writing and great like character relationships and how it reflects us, you know?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything that I'm just like, yeah, they should keep redoing it so it just like puts more perspective on it.
Well, let's say in like 20 years, we have new technology to make it even more realistic, right? Or even more crisp, like crisper pixels or something like that. And the Star Wars prequel series comes out again. That would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what I said. Like, I think it would be really interesting to have them just refilm the original trilogy.
Yeah.
But I say that very warily because it's like you kind of don't want to mess with what's already good, with what already has a huge fan base.
Yeah. Because there has been some pretty crappy Pride and Prejudice that have come out. I will say that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's also like, I mean, really, any of the Disney '90s cartoons,
Yeah.
they just pulled from like other stories that like, I mean, you can go find other versions. Like, how many Disney didn't even do a Thumbelina, but how many Thumbelinas are there?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, same with Jungle Book and Little Mermaid, Cinderella, Snow White. Winnie the Pooh just entered the public domain, so now there's a horror movie.
Oh, yeah. Weird.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I am of the opinion that I like new content more than I like redo content. But I
I,
think there are some things that need to be redone, like Aragon.
yeah. Well, I would say, like, going back to Pride and Prejudice, I think that movie introduced me to that time period way more than history class ever could have.
Yeah, well, I mean, we just kind of, I feel like history class focuses on wars only,
Yeah, and like power struggles and stuff like that, but they don't actually teach you about like why
the
were they
social
wearing,
dynamic.
yeah, the social dynamic. Yeah, and I think she captured that so well that like the way that they gossip about each other, the way that they like talk to one another, it's just explained very well.
Well, I guess when you think about it, it's just the time period she was living in.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of books though about the period we're living in, but like which one of them is going to be the one that people will look back on and be like, "Oh, this one explains the period super well." Sort of like Charles Dickens
Harry
and
Potter.
or sorry, Charles Dickens, Harry Potter. Well, like Charles Dickens, his explains like the Great Depression or no, the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see which author rises above the other authors.
That's true. Well, yeah, I feel like there's just so much like fiction going. Like obviously hers is fiction, but I mean like fantasy fiction. There's a lot of fantasy fiction going on right now, or dystopian fiction.
Yeah.
So that should say something about our society.
Yeah, we just want to escape from it.
Yeah.
Escapism.
Um, I should not bring up Harry Potter again, but like when you think about that it's set in the '90s, it changes everything. Where you realize that like these Muggle kids are going home and trading Pokemon cards.
Hmm.
And like, yeah, they have their school uniforms, but like the girls are probably wearing those chokers.
Yeah.
The guys
Yeah.
have like the freaking puka shell necklaces. Like
Yeah.
it changes Harry Potter so much.
Yeah, like there's like a culture captured, and as much as I love Harry Potter, it's like, did she really capture it? You know?
Yeah, no, she didn't. Well, in her defense, she said that like wizards didn't know how to dress like muggles, so they dressed funny and like in muggle clothing.
Yeah, which is like the perfect excuse.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you watch the movie Pride and Prejudice before anything?
Yes. Megan from camp, shout out to Megan. She really educated me on this. We watched Pride and Prejudice first, and then now this is where it gets a little hazy. I think then we watched Austenland, and then we watched an LDS version of Pride and Prejudice.
The Work and the Glory?
No. It's like a legitimate like they follow some single girl at church who is supposed to be like Elizabeth.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Like how they also have that LDS Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, exactly.
The Beast is
Um,
just a mean guy only.
yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. He's mad when one of his vases that cost $200,000 is broken.
Yeah, well, I'd be mad too.
Yeah, I would be too. That's not gonna make you a beast. What the heck? um, yeah, and then I think was introduced to the 6 hour version after that.
You've seen it?
But I was younger, so I'd have to go back and like rewatch it to really like be able to give my opinion on it. I
I,
will say that I feel like there's a lot of still shots where they're letting the dialogue do the work, whereas in the film, the camera's doing a lot of the work as well as the dialogue.
the camera is doing too much work in the movie, I think.
Just that one scene.
They do it
Other than
more than
that,
that scene. They do it more. They're okay at the ball at Bingley's ball. That's the one.
mhm.
There is a shot. I think it's after she's danced with Darcy. I can't remember if it's before or after. But there's a single shot. It doesn't break frame
Yeah, and it
for
just goes
like
through the different rooms.
yeah. That's so it's not the only scene. I just named another scene and I've seen this movie once.
Okay, but what did you think about the ball scene where like they're all with people and then all of a sudden they're alone?
I turned to Janessa and I said, "What happened to the other people?" And then they showed the other people and I was like, "Oh, I guess that's supposed to be symbolic of some crap."
Yeah, it's just them two alone in the world when they're together.
Yeah, that's what I thought it would be.
So freaking cute.
Yeah, I just don't have that mind. I don't know. I think I went into it thinking there's a lot of hype around this. It better live up to it. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, which I'm a little bit sad at because I feel like if you didn't know that there was hype, you'd be like, "Oh wow, not too bad."
Yeah. Well,
Um,
that's really where I am. I was like, I do think it's not too bad. Like, if someone ever wants to watch it, like, I'll be like, sure, why not? I don't super care. But if I get to go and pick a movie, I'm gonna pick Eurovision. You know?
yeah, okay, that makes sense. Um, all right. There's like a lot of things I could say about it. I think it's really good. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you ever read the book though? That's more what I was asking.
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
you stopped at the 6 hour version.
Oh yeah, I watched a 6 hour version. I've seen like a bunch of other ones. Like they have a Pride and Prejudice Zombies that came out like a few years
Oh, I
ago.
did hear about that. Is it good?
It's actually pretty good. It's sort of interesting to see what you think about it now that you've seen the original.
I mean, it's
Be like,
Halloween.
I have a copy, so I mean I could always mail it to you. Um, yeah, it's just and then I read the book in high school and the book is very wordy. It's just there's so many words because she puts you in the head of like different people and you get to hear every single thought that they're having. And while it's very descriptive and really nice, the book is a little is like there's like 82,000 words in it and it's like yeah, it's a lot.
Yikes. Oh, she might have written during the time period where authors got paid per page.
I do know that she sold the copyright for 110 pounds. So it'd be like $10,000 our
So
time.
someone else gets the money.
Yeah, and they're still producing it. Well, I don't know if the same publications company is running it, but
Well, her
like
works are probably in the public domain by now.
yeah, by now, but they had it for a while. So as a non this is your first time watching Pride and Prejudice. How would you rate it out of 5?
Like a 4.
Hey, that's higher than I thought you were going to put it at. I think you're going to put it like a 3.2.
No, well, 3.5. Oh, no, 2.5 is the exact middle. So yeah, 3.5.
Oh, well,
Well, I was thinking 3.5 was the middle. I was like, I mean, it's better than
I would put it at a 4.7.
maybe I
It's
would
one of my
still keep it
favorite
at a
works.
4. I'm going to keep it at a 4.
Well, then averaging it out 4.7, we'll put it at a 4.3. We'll lower it to you because you
But
got
if we do a weighted average like we should, it's 4.1.
weighted average.
Cool.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody.
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow.
Nerd.